Welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4 tutorial. This is just a starting playthrough with Italy, just to kind of give you an idea. I'm just going to do a sort of play and explain why I'm doing certain things as I go. So, as you see, I've already got Italy selected. We'll do the start. Yes, we'll save it as Iron Man Italy 1. Initializing the game, loading the graphics, and here we go. So I've got all these icons. Usually I just want to get rid of them all at start, so we'll do that. Boom, boom, and we'll come back to all of those later. Now what I usually do when I'm starting off a new game like this one is I just go through, slot by slot. So right off the bat, I want to go to occupied territories, and I want to change civilian oversight to local police force to reduce the amount of resources and people that we need to keep those things going. I notice that the Reggimento di Cavaliera is selected. I have no plans on using cavalry in this game, so I'm just going to keep that, but I'm going to change their template. So 1%, we're pretty low resistance at start, and we're going to try and keep it low by using the police force and by making sure that our people are well supplied. So that's what we do for that. Next we're going to go over to the deploy tab. I'm going to turn the garrisons up to the highest level. This Reggimento di Cavalleria, I'm not planning on using this as any units, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a duplicate. I'm going to create a duplicate, and I'm going to go ahead and drop that. But instead of Cavallero or Cavalleria, I'm going to change it to Di Policia. And I'm going to call this a garrison unit, garrison division. I'm going to update it. Now, this one and this one, there's absolutely no difference structurally between them. They're the same, but I may make changes to this one, and I don't want to make changes to the other because I'm going to make all of their units cavalry for training purposes. And I'll come back to why I created a second one. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over here now and go back over here, and I'm going to change it instead of the actual cavalry one, I'm going to change it to the police one. And that police one is only going to be used for garrisons, and that's why I called it a garrison division. So I can actually go ahead and decommission it for purposes so that it won't accidentally get selected. It's still here. Like if I click that, it's still there, and it's still in use as our our police troops garrison unit. But yeah, so we're going to assign those like that. Next thing I do is I usually go to the decisions tab. For the naval treaties, in this game I'm not planning on doing anything with them. I'm not going to, this is a diplomatic type of thing. You can abandon the naval treaties. Basically you're opting out of it, and if we opt out, that basically means that other countries that are part of it, like the United States and Britain, are able to declare war on us. They're given a war goal against us because we chose not to, play in their little treaty. And there's also an option to cheat on the treaty. I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to turn it off. I'll even minimize it. It's not going to matter at all. We're not going to do any war propaganda. We could do war propaganda against Ethiopia to bring our value up. It's not really essential, and I don't want to, we can't do it yet anyways, so I'm just going to turn it off. I'll hide that one for now. Emergency factory conversions, I don't like doing this one, and these other two are not available either, so we'll just turn them off. We'll turn all of these ones off. We'll turn these ones off. We'll leave this realize Roman ambitions just because, we want to have something to strive for. But, that's just to get those notifications to stop, so they won't sort of tell us, hey, this is happening or that's happening. We're not going to do anything in intelligence agency research. Italy starts out pretty well because they actually start with 4 research slots, which is pretty cool. For the first one, I like to always pick this one as my first one, the electronic mechanical engineering. Why? Because it costs 99 days worth of research to get it, but for all of your slots from the time it's finished, they get a 3% increase. So essentially that means that you're expending 99 days worth of research in one slot to get effectively, a 3% of a day from each of 4 slots. So basically 12% of a day's worth of research back each day. So after 8 days or 9 days, essentially you've gotten 1 actual day back. So to get back the 99 days, it's going to take about 1,000 days, so about 3 years. But it does give those other technologies faster. So you're giving up on one's time to get some more for others later on. And so we're going to take that one, research. This one, I like to go and grab this one because it opens this option, and this is the one we want to get our factory output up. So I'm going to pick that one. I'm also going to want to get the fast tanks, the level 2 tanks, as quick as possible as well. So I'm going to put those out there, and I'm going to leave this one blank, and I'm going to do the rush research on this one to get that one done quicker. So we'll leave that. Diplomacy, right off the bat, I like to just go and ask all of the various countries for docking rights that we can get, so they'll accept. And back to the country list, go to El Salvador, ask them, hey, can we have rights to dock at your ports? They'll say sure. German Reich, why not? We'll ask them for rights too. Italy, Japan, let's ask them for rights. Manchukuo, sure, let's ask them. We could ask Manchukuo, but they don't actually have any ports, so there's not really much point. Peru, we'll ask them. And we'll go to Venezuela and we'll ask them. And all of them are, predisposed to saying yes, so that will be good. We'll have some places that we can send our ships to base from and do things if we need to, send fleets around the world. We'll be able to do that a lot easier. So, as I've been just sort of stepping across each tab, trade tab, we haven't done anything yet, so I'll skip this one for now because we won't know what we need yet until we're done with our construction, our production. For construction in this particular game, I'm just going to build military factories right off the bat. I'm just going to hold down the shift, and I'm going to max out my Latium and max out Tuscany and max out Emilia-Romagna. So I basically have 11 military factories queued up to work a way through. So the system will work on them, and when it's done, it'll then jump to the next one. We currently have 11 factories working on it. So that's that. Production. And this is just personal choice. We don't need so many infantry equipment at this point. I do like getting more support equipment. I also do like building some artillery because artillery is awfully useful in battle as well. So we'll put that up there too. And we want to get some trucks because we like to have things. We want to get some tanks. Actually, yeah, we'll keep those tanks. They're building those ones. We've got some close air support doing their thing. We still have one more unit. We'll make some more artillery. So we've got some people doing this. We've got some close air support being built. I think this is just a nice start right off the bat. We might want to build some trains. So maybe I'll reduce this one by 1 and go and pick some trains. Trains, there we go. Put the trains at the bottom, below the trucks, below the planes. So we've got some making trains, we've got some making this, and I think we're pretty good. This looks like a nice start. So as we notice, we're short a bunch of chromium. Now as it happens, all the chromium is being used in these ships. So we don't really care about that. If the ships take longer to build, that's fine. We do, however, have a shortage of rubber. Now, it just is a matter of course, do we want to increase the speed of our trucks being built and our airplanes being built? We could. The thing is, if we do that, it's going to cost us one of our construction units. We're using 11 to build. If I go ahead and take a trade and take one of these and go find a country like Siam and take one of those, I'm now getting the 8, so that 6 is going to disappear. But on the flip side, I now am only got 10 allocated, so this is going to take longer. So it's going to take until March 12th for this to build. Whereas if I don't use this and get rid of it and go back and take a look at the other tab, this will be built on March the 6th. So I'm saving 6 days. I'm going to get that production 6 days earlier, and I'm going to have 6 days more production and more incremental growth of, you know, the production efficiency getting better. So I'm going to just keep it. I'm not going to worry about that. So even though we have a shortage of rubber and of chromium, just going to leave it. Don't really need to worry about it. While I'm here, I don't like having these set to auto, so I just go ahead and I pick, you know, Squadron Naval 1, Squadron Naval 1, and just put them all in the same place, because I'm going to probably merge them all together into one big giant fleet at some point anyways. Squadron Naval 1, 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 submarine, I'll put it in Grupo Submersible 1, and there we go. Now these ones aren't even being built yet, but once some of these other ships finish, they'll become available and add on for there. So that's that. We've now done this tab and this tab. We've done the production tab. Deployment tab. We've got our reinforcements flowing, we've got our upgrades flowing, we've got garrisons as our high priority. I don't really feel like I need to build any units yet, so I'm just gonna leave that. Now one thing I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna group this entire group of units all together as one, under one army. I'm gonna take these two and these two here in Libya, and I'm gonna group them as an army. I'm going to take all of these ones up in the northern part up here and group them together as an army. And I'm going to take these 4 in the south and group them together as an army. Now these 2 that are in Ethiopia, I'm going to group them together under a field marshal. So they're now grouped together. I'm going to do the same thing with these 2 as another field marshal for them. Now for this grouping, in Ethiopia, I'm going to send Badolio as the leader, Messi as the northern general, Praska as the southern general. This group of 4, I'm going to give them Balbo. This group of 17, I'm going to give them Caballero. And this guy, I'm just going to give them in charge of Debono. Now, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to accumulate a bunch of army experience. And to do that, I want to go ahead and exercise these troops that I'm not using. Now the problem is that when you exercise them, they use up their resources that they use, right? So for my infantry units, they're going to use support equipment and infantry equipment. Those are both going to get burned. For these mountain units, when I look at the mountain unit, they're going to use support equipment, they're going to use infantry equipment, and they're going to expend artillery. Artillery takes a while to build, so we don't really want to have them breaking the artillery for useless little practice things. So I'm going to find a way around that. So we don't really want to have the mountains doing it. The same thing with the tanks. We don't want the tanks. They have light tanks in there, they have trucks, they have infantry equipment. So all of that stuff could get, you know, broken and utilized, and they're kind of expensive to produce. The infantry equipment's not so much, but the other things can take a while, and it can be costly to do that. And if you're not really, you just don't want to sit there burning them for no reason, because it takes up a lot of your production quality to put them back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this particular General Cavallero and this particular, well, actually this full guy here, and I'm going to deselect the mountain units. And the reason I'm deselecting the mountain units is because I'm not going to convert them, but all of the other units, I'm just going to change them over to the Reggimenti di Cavalleria. I'm going to turn them all into cavalry. And why am I choosing cavalry? Because when I exercise the cavalry, they only use infantry equipment. They don't burn artillery. They don't burn anything else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those 4 mountain units and I'm going to break them into their own little group. I'm going to attach it to him. And I did that by right-clicking, so if you've got a separate group, I can break it off from it. And if I want to add it to a group, I can just right-click and he'll jump and join the other guys. And now he'll hide behind the leader. If I do that, I'm going to assign him this free general here. So next what I'm going to do is, because I've gone ahead and this is now all cavalry units, and this is all cavalry units, I'm going to give the order for these guys to just start training. And I'm going to give the order for this guy to start training. This one I'm not going to bother because there's no benefit for training with them anyways, and they're going to expend their useful resources, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just setting them doing that as their default mission to start, and they're just going to sit up here, practicing, building up army experience points for me. You'll notice that a bunch of manpower got put back into the troops, and if I go look over here in the logistics pile, I now have no requirements for artillery because all of our mountain units have full artillery complement already, and none of our other units require it. We're still got a shortage of infantry equipment, but we can start building that up. And support equipment, when we're building on that, and we are building some trains as well, so we're working on some light tanks. We're going to have a surplus of light tanks shortly once the armor units get converted back over. So that's always something good. Now, I've now given those guys orders to do their thing. They're just going to hang out and train. What I'm going to do for this fellow is I want them to guard up there. So I'm going to take those particular units. I'm going to just select this guy as part of this grouping here, and I'm going to pick those 2 in particular so they're highlighted out of it, and I'm just going to give them an order to stand here guarding this border with France. So if France tries to get uppity and crosses this crossing line here where they can actually attack across because they're close together, we'll have troops there to defend against them. Same thing with these 2 units here in Tripoli. Our plan is going to be going to war with France, so we're going to do that. We're going to put them on this border here, and they'll just move over there and get on that border. So they've got their orders. If I wanted to, I could pick the rest of these guys who are not in this group and have not these 4 either. And I could go ahead and say, okay, look, I want you guys to go to the French border, and I want you 4 guys to go to the Yugoslavian border. And now they've got their orders, they're going to move, they're going to do their thing. When we go down here and we pick up this general, I want to deselect these guys. I sort of showed you this in one of the other videos. I'm going to give them the order in the top, and I'm going to have them have an order to go down to here below the capital, and this group down here are going to have an order on this line, and their orders will be to advance to the capital from this side. So they've got their orders, they're set. We've now got our troops with their orders all lined up. I'm going to change his preference to slow. Just going to go that way. Now they're all set up. We have to give orders for our air units, so this is relatively simple for these ones. I'm just going to send them to East Africa to do their thing. I just need to remember that they need to be set on air superiority and close air support so that they actually are doing something when they're flying over there. For the other air units that we have up here, I'm just going to select them all. Oh. And let's go out further so we can grab them all like this. Got them all selected. I'm going to change their orders, and I'm just going to put them on training. I'm going to break them down into smaller groupings just so that I don't lose so many of them. I'm going to take these ones out. Anybody else? These ones are at 6, so they'll all get taken out. Break it down some more. These ones are at 4, so I'll take them out. These ones are down to 4. These ones are at 6, so they're small enough. Those ones are still at 8 and 10 and 10 and 16, so we'll break them in half again. It's a bunch of little bit of hassle to do this, but you know, if it saves me a couple jets and fighters along the way, so that I'll have more when I actually go to war, yeah, I'm willing to do this. Going. These are the 8s, and we want to split them down to 4s. Now we'll select everybody. We'll make sure that they're all on air during flying the day, because we don't want to take our new recruits, our fresh recruits, and have them flying missions at night when they're not even that good flying during the day yet. So we're just going to put them all on day. We're going to have them on normal missions. We're not going to push them out there, making it risky and rush them to do their training. We'll just do them normal training. That's fine. And I'm just going to hold down the shift button and click this, and you'll notice that they all have the little pilot exercises with the things, so they'll train up to their max, and once they get to their max, they'll stop. So they're now all set. We can hit escape to close that. Go F1, we're back over to there. For our fleets, we don't really need to do anything with them right now. I mean, they're there, but with Ethiopia, there's not really anything to do in the war. So they're basically just sitting in places, waiting for the real war to begin, and they're ready to do their thing. We've got everything set. If we wanted to, what I would sometimes suggest is go ahead and hit escape and then hit exit to menu. And what will happen is the system, because we're an Iron Man, will save the game, and you can go to your save files if you go into My Documents, and then into Paradox Interactive, and then into, I think it's Save Games, and then Hearts of Iron 4, or it might be Hearts of Iron 4 Save Games. You'll see Iron Man Italy 1, or whatever name of yours will be, and you can then save that and just take a copy of it and paste it somewhere else, so that if you ever want to play forward, that one will be updated. But let's say you mess up somewhere and you want to go back, you can just take that save that you did with all of the things in your setup and just drop it over top of that file, and it'll overwrite it, and then when you switch back in and load it up again, you'll be back just after you've done all of your changes. So it's a nice easy way to get ready to start the game prepped the way you want it to be. And if you want to go back and make more changes, you can once you've done, say, oh, actually I want to do something a little bit differently this time. I want to choose different text, or I want to do some other things. So what we're going to do here is I am going to put the speed up a little bit. I'm just going to go and put it on 2. And I'm going to give the order to attack. I've got the order. So they'll start moving in and doing their thing. They're going to move slowly because I've got them on slow attack. Now, one of the things about this game is that if you go fast and you trust the AI to do all of your moves, when the AI is controlling your units, it sometimes does dumb things. And I swear it actually does dumb things in favor of the enemy because it wants to make the game harder for you. So if you don't want it to do dumb things, you slow the game speed down, and when your units are done whatever they're doing, you can give them new orders. Now, how do we go about giving the orders? So if I want to pick where people want to attack, I can select specific units. So I can say, hey, I want this guy right here. And I can say, I want this guy to attack here. And I just right click and he'll move and he'll go there. If I want him to go through there to this territory after, I can actually just right click right to there and it will pick out a route. Now, sometimes the route that it'll take may not be the way you want. Now, for this one, it's pretty simple. They'd have to go through here and go through there. But there are times where there may be a couple choices that it could go, and it'll pick one that you don't want. So what you can do for that is you can right-click holding down the Shift key. So if I want to cancel this order, I can just go Halt, and it'll wipe that order out. I can select it, and I can hold down the Shift key as I'm right-clicking, and I can pick province by province which way I want them to go, and they will follow that route. And I can then take these other three and I can say, okay, I want these guys to go here and then over to there and then come around here and then to the capital from the back. So you can give them different orders like that and actually pick out their route by just right-clicking each step by holding the Shift key as you go. So that's really useful if you want to get them to go a particular route. Now, as it happens, I don't really have a specific preference at the moment. I'm just going to let the computer actually pick what it's doing. And that's fine. It's not the end of the world. I mean, if you want and you're like, really, I want to make sure that I'm making all the choices for all the things, you can do that. Now, the other thing to note is when these guys attack, they're going to attack here. And once they push through there, this guy's orders are to then continue on to this place. If for some reason his organization drops to 0 and he can't continue this attack, he drops all of those orders. Anything beyond that point, because he couldn't complete this one, gets wiped, and then the computer will now decide a new order for him based on what it thinks would be the best choice. So sometimes what you're going to want to do is keep an eye on that so that when you see a unit gets its org down to 0 and it loses its orders, you can then maybe give it new orders, or you can choose rather than letting the computer do that. And if you're going on full speed, there's no way you're going to be able to do it. By the time you even get a chance to, it'll already be given new orders and doing something else. One thing important to note, if you give an order to attack, they have to proceed with that attack, I think, for a minimum of 6 hours. So if you try and move in and then you go, oh, I don't want them to attack there, if you try and click the halt or you try and click somewhere else, it will just not let you do it because they're sort of locked into that order attacking for a certain amount of time. Similarly, if we had used this mission thing here, cannot retreat while attacking, you can't change their order to something else. There's no option to change it. So, I mean, this guy's got a nice hopeful order of getting through here. I don't expect that he's actually going to do this all in one go because this is going to take a long time for them to burn through, probably longer than he's got organization to lose. So, but, I mean, it's all there and it's just the way the system works. So, we've now got all that. We've got these guys down in the south. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to hit the space bar and I'm going to start to let the game go. And you're going to see that the units are going to start moving and we're going to get these notifications. Remember all those requests that we asked? Docking rights granted. The Dominican Republic says okay. Docking rights granted. Venezuela says okay. Manchukuo says okay. Peru says okay. Japan, hey, they like us too. Even the Germans, they're like, yep, you can dock in our ports. El Salvador, sure. So they all said yes. Now, when your guys are doing their attack, you can see that there's a group of units that are involved in this battle here, and there's a group of units that are involved in this battle here. And as you can see, there's 2 units that are attacking, the 5A Mountain Unit and the 26A Division which would be this guy here. So this guy and this guy, one of these guys and one of these guys are attacking here. And in this battle, we've got 4 units here who are attacking, and we got one guy sitting in reserves, and these 2 units are the ones who are defending. And it shows what our attack strength is. We've got a 27 attack. We've got a 4 hard attack, if they had any armor, but they don't. And we have 12, or sorry, that's our piercing value. No, the hard attack is 4. Breakthrough. Breakthrough is our defense. As you'll notice, they have a much higher defense value than we do, as a 99 and a 60, and when we've got 12. So we're doing a lot of damage because we've got so many units that are fighting, and we have such a high attack value, so we're actually inflicting a lot of casualties. Plus we have planes, and we're attacking from multiple directions. So if I was to look at my units in this stack, for instance, they're all going straight in there. If I look at these ones, one guy's going in here and 2 are going in there. If I look where these guys are going, they're all moving in here. So this guy is being attacked like from these 5 units, these 5 units, and 2 units from here. And if I actually scroll down, you can see that there's 11 divisions that are involved in this attack. One of them is sitting in the reserves because, you know, even though there's 12 attacking, not all 12 can get into the combat width space. But they're going to be doing a lot of damage. We've got a plus 11.2 attack bonus and a plus 10% defense bonus. They don't even have a commander, so they're using their base values. We've got encirclement as our option, and defend is, you know, they're defending, so they get a 5% to their defender tactic damage. But it's telling us this number 83 is the percentage of how close we are to completion. So if it was like 12, it would mean it's going to take us a long time to get done. 83 means that we're pretty close to getting done. And if we actually click on there and put the mouse over this, it says we're winning, and it says it estimates that the battle will last less than a day. So we're going to take these guys out pretty quickly. This battle here, we are winning, but we're slowly getting there. We're not even at halfway, and it's saying will last less than a day. So we're probably not going to beat them in this one. It's going to take a while to go through. If we wanted, we could actually send a unit to go and pin these guys. That's another tactic of the game, is that when you send units to attack a province, the province units that are in there are stuck. They're pinned down. They can't move. So if I wanted to, let's say, have an army units break through here and then take this territory that's empty, I could actually have them go through and take that by pinning other units along the line so that they couldn't move in there to impede our progress. And that's one of the tactics that you can use. You'll also notice that some of our guys have attrition because they're attacking into the mountains and they're in desert, so there's not very good supply for them, but it's not that majorly concerning at this point. So yeah, we'll continue on. We'll just let the motion go further, and we'll notice as we're going, our green lines will start to drop, and so will theirs, and the numbers will increase. 84. This one's at 47, and it'll slowly go up as we're slowly beating them and doing our attack. It's not like fast progress or anything, but we are slowly moving in on them. Now the other thing you'll notice is that because we're flying a lot of fighters and bombers that are doing exercises and practicing back home, and then we also have these ones who are doing missions here, and we have it's basically a lot of our fuel stockpiles that are being used. We have about 3 months worth of stockpile of fuel. Once that goes to 0, we are in trouble. And it is decreasing, as you can tell by the red arrow. If it's increasing, it would be green pointing up. So it is slowly decreasing, but you'll notice we're getting close. We're beating these guys back. You can see their green is going down. We're starting to do organizational damage to it. We've gotten through their defenses. Now, some tactics, what people will sometimes do is when this gets up to a high number, they'll suddenly call off the attack. They'll say, hey, we're just going to take these guys and we're going to tell them to stop attacking. And why would you do this? Well, it's a nice little trick to get your general more experience. Because we're fighting in the mountains from multiple directions with multiple troops from, different ways, if we go ahead, I'll just let one of these units retreat out of there first. So you'll notice it also shows the progress that they've got as they're moving into the territory. This guy's going to have to leave pretty soon because he's going to have to retreat because we're going to bring his org to 0. Suddenly he'll have to leave. And you'll see him disappear because we don't have any. So he's going to leave. Out he goes. They might send somebody in to replace him. He's gone. So he retreated. Now this guy's basically fighting alone against, 12 divisions worth of troops. And he's getting beaten up pretty bad, pretty fast. Going down, going down, going down. Now we don't want him to actually take the territory, so we can do this and the order will be given again. So we can actually just say stop the order, stop the attack, stop the order, stop the attack. Now they attacked again because I had the order on, but I turned it off. Now let's take a look at our general Messi and his details. So one of the nice abilities that you can get here is Trickster. And how do you get Trickster? You get 500 experience. Well, how do you get that 500 experience? You'll notice he has 240 already. He gets that experience when he is flanking the enemy or getting flanked by the enemy. So he's leading this troop against the enemy and we're flanking them. We've got like 3 different directions of attack happening that one. So because of that, he's getting a lot of experience. He's already halfway to getting this ability. Also, because he's fighting against the mountains, he's got 283 experience towards the 700 he needs to get the Mountaineer ability. And there's other ones as well. Engineers, it increases when you're attacking into a fort or a river crossing. Now, as it happens, they're entrenched, so that's considered fortified. So we are getting a little bit of that. He's also getting infantry leader experience because troops in under him are infantry, so it's 283 for that. We're not getting an invader. That you get that from doing naval invasions. Commando, we get that in extreme temperatures, or if we're doing naval invasions or paradrops. Skilled staffer, we would get this if he had 24 armies under his command, but he doesn't. He's only got 14. But there are some of the other things that we may also be getting, and then when we get enough of them, we'll be able to take those with those traits. So this is a way to build up our units. And as you'll notice, they've now reinforced. So we'll give the order to attack again. And they've now got 3 units in defense there. And that's going to make it harder. They also have a staff office plan, which allows them to plan faster. If we wanted, we could actually go ahead and we don't have enough points here yet. Now, the other thing that we have to sort of keep track of while we're going is we want to keep track of our points for this, or I do anyways. And I also want to keep track of how far we are progressing along, because I want to stop when we get to January the 30th so that I can reassign that slot. Let's pick up our leader. So we're winning again. We're slowly beating them back, slowly beating them back. In the south, what's going on down here? They're slowly beating them here, and this guy's slowly beating them there, mostly because of the support from the air. Let's speed it up a little bit. 86. 87. Oh, one guy retreated. You can see his values are dropping. And their organization, their green values, their green bars are dropping, dropping, dropping. And you'll notice that ours are not, because we're, totally outclassing them. Even though our units have little or no breakthrough, we're just doing so much damage that they're barely doing any damage to our units. It's getting dispersed amongst them. And one of their units came back. So now we're pushing them back, pushing them back. The mountain unit's going to be pushed out. He's going to have to retreat. Some of those other units were at 96, 97. One of those units will probably have to retreat in a second. 98, I'm going to call off the attack. Now let's go take a look at our leader. Go look at General Messe, and we'll notice it now says he can actually get a trait. He's got enough for Trickster. And it actually took Trickster. He got enough skill to go up a level, so it gave him Trickster automatically. And we still have 2 free spots. We could actually take Guerrilla Fighter if we wanted for the entrenchment. We can wait and keep going for Mountaineer. We're pretty close to getting another 85 experience in mountains, and we'll be there. So, we'll just wait a little bit longer. And the other thing is that we noticed is that went and passed by, and we're at February 2nd. I wanted to do a couple things, so I'm going to go here. I want to justify a war goal on France. We're going to take Corsica from them. 47 political points, 235 days. So we've got some time to build up and get a war against France. We're just going to go after France early. The second thing I want to do is go over here. It already capped out, and we've actually lost a few days of points there. But what we're going to do is we're going to pick this one, and we're going to pick something else. I'm going to pick an improvement. No, let's go and pick some construction so that we'll get our thing building faster. We're going to go back over here, and we're going to take this one, and you'll notice it's down to 38 days where it was at 68 days, but we got to put that 30 points of spare against it, so it'll actually finish faster and then help these ones even finish faster, because once this one finishes, we're going to get another bonus to our research rate. So let's give the order to attack again and let the game advance. They're back. We're forcing their hand, pushing them, pushing them, pushing them. And yeah, it's taken a while, but we're getting some experience. Our troops are getting hardened, battle hardened. Like, look at that. Look at this. Some of these guys are getting up there. Let's investigate Messe and his details. His Mountaineer, 692, 93, 94, 95, 98, 700. He just got Mountaineer. And we can take this one. And if we want, we can actually pick the units and give them orders to now attack over here. And attack into there. And these guys will then attack into here. And this guy and this guy will attack into there. And these guys will defend against that. And we've got units going. And now we're going to go into the desert, and we're going to build up Messe as a desert commander. As we notice when we go and look at his skills, he's now gotten Trickster, he's gotten Mountaineer, and he still has 2 free. I can actually go and take Improv Expert, which allows him to cross bridges better, and also allows him to move faster across the land. So that's a really useful one, and I'm actually going to take that right now and spend our 15 points of command power to give it to him. So it increases the speed of our units, which is something that's useful. And let's let the game move forward again. Now, as we noticed, you saw the 98. What was happening is this guy was on the attack, attacking us, trying to pin our units to stop us from taking advantage of, the territory we took, because now these guys have to retreat and they're trying to get the hell out of there, and we're chasing him down. If we start punching through and taking them out, we could actually wipe out their forces by taking the territory that they could retreat to before they get there. So that can happen, and I'm going to send these guys to there, and I'm just going to go continue on. And it looks like we just beat them, but our units are still moving. Now their guys managed to get back there in time, but we're still winning against that battle. Got this battle over here. It's going to be harder, but we're slow going and we're pushing through. And in the meantime, if I look at our general, and this guy here has actually gotten better, so we could increase some of his skills. He got defensive doctrine built, and he went up a level. Just send those guys straight in. Just keep on going. What's going on in the south? Take a look. Yeah, they're slowly going through the forces there. And we're just slowly advancing. And we're into February. It's fine. Here come our troops. Now they're really starting to push. 72. Let's take a look at Messi and see how he's doing. How's his desert? Desert Fox. He's got 26, so he's slowly getting it. It's going to take a while. Let them advance. Oh, and something happened here. So as you'll notice, it says we are short a tactical bomber. And what probably happened is we actually had a tactical bomber crash somewhere. It turns out it's not one of these ones. I'm guessing that one of our other tactical bombers over here actually had an accident. Now it's less likely to happen. When we hit F3 and we look around and we see that 6480, 43, 31. So this guy lost one in here somewhere. Yeah, this guy. So we'll just drop him down to 3, and we're short one there, unfortunately. It happens. It's something that can occur, but no biggie. Back on the attack again. That one's gone. Now, if we want to look at our casualties and how we're doing in the war, us as Italy have lost 705 people, and we've inflicted 7,000 casualties on Ethiopia. 7,600. So, about 10 to 1. So we're basically, shoving our superior weapons, our bombers and such are basically, cleaning their clock, as it were. And you'll notice when it goes yellow or red, that means that they're temporarily winning, because it's a random value that gets generated for the wars. So sometimes they may actually do better, dealing more damage to us at particular times. Maybe our guys are missing more and theirs are hitting more. So sometimes that'll happen, but most of the time you're going to want to see it being primarily green. Yellow means both sides are about the same. Green is, beneficial for us. And let's see how Messi is doing for his Desert Fox. He's got 54, so it's going to take him a while. Speed it up a little bit more. We're up to 90, 91. We're going to slow it right down because we almost just took the desert from them, and we don't want to do that yet. So we'll stop the order and give the order to stop, and let these guys go moving around. Let our opponents recoup and recover and strengthen their resolve. Now you could do this all day if you wanted to get, there's hills here that you could fight in as well, so that you could get messy hill fighter and give him all of these super traits. Now I'm not going to bother with that. I'm actually fine with what he's got currently. I'm just going to give them the order to go and say, hey, look, let's go. I'm going to give these guys the order once they get through to move to this space, and these guys are going to go here and then over to there, and they've got their orders and they're moving. Oh, look, and we have a free military factory that was finished building. So we can come back over here and go, well, where do we want to put it? Let's give ourselves some more infantry equipment. And if we look, we've got 6 artillery surplus, we've got 1,100 infantry surplus, lots of trucks, fair amount of support, 276. We've been losing artillery because we do have a mountain unit that's engaged, so it is losing some, but we're building some to offset those. Send them in here too. And these guys are about to take this spot, 98%. Now, because these guys have them pinned down and they have them pinned down, once we push through here, this may be an empty space, and we may be able to just move right into it. Oh, somebody reinforced, so it's slowing down our attack slightly. When we get to March 10th, we would get a national focus, but I never actually selected a national focus for us because I wanted to get the military or victory points. These guys are going to move in and take this space as soon as they're ready to move. And I'm going to get us some trade for oil because we're down to 1 month's worth of oil. I'm just going to go and trade with, I don't know, how about Venezuela? Get them to send us 8. That should slow it down. As you can see, it's increasing the number slightly. Now the other thing we can do is we can take one of these guys and break him off and go this way. And go into the capital, try and surround through that way. Now they may end up going, uh-oh, and try and send somebody back to get from that way to stop us from flanking them. Oh, that tech finished. Now we've got a free spot. I can put it on, save it up, put against that, so I'll do that. I'll just leave it open. And as you can see, we now took this territory, and we're sitting knocking on Addis Ababa, or Ababa. And there's a guy here who's trying to push us back, and we're trying to move in on this one. We have some more forces going through that way, so it's fine. These numbers will suddenly even get worse for them, because we're actually winning in defense against this guy who's attacking while attacking this unit here. Oh, and we've got another one who's in there. Now they've got some supply issues because it's a long trek. So what I could do is I could actually go here and go, okay, let's change this to trucks, or lots of trucks. And then all of these units in the north will be given more supply when all the trucks are there. And it shows us that, hey, we've got, you know, a fair number of trucks that we can supply them all with, and their supply problems just went away. Give them an order to go through there. These guys are going to come, and whichever ones, he's going to go in there. Give him the order to go in there, and here, and in there. So there we go. They're now advancing on the capital from a bunch of different directions. They have a pretty strong force there. Now, as you'll notice, we've got some experience here, and we're still waiting on that research to grow. We could actually go ahead and get a general if we wanted. We could get this guy to give us more army experience points. He's a pretty good one. There's some other nice people that they have as well. This is an infantry leader, which is a useful one as well. So I'll take him actually, because he'll make our infantry fight that much better right off the bat, immediately. And their capital is going to drop pretty quickly. As you can see here, these units have already started to, you know, win, and they're moving in on the base from the other side. Check the capital. There we go. So what I'm going to do with this research level is when I get it up to the cap, I'm going to use it to buy 30 onto the basic machine tools to get it built even faster. Oh, and another one to join the battle. We're pushing them out of their capital. Saying that there's air wings with no mission assigned. It's not these ones. Oh yeah, these ones all finished their training, so they're all just standing by, so that's fine. It's basically just telling us that we have a bunch of bombers who aren't doing anything because they finished their training. We lost a fighter somewhere. Just took the capital, and by the end of the day, a little bit more land and we'll basically have them. So let's take these two and go after this guy, and take these two and go after this guy, and take this guy, these guys. How about this guy? Send him there. There we go. Just need to take a couple more territory. If we go and look, it shows, you know, how close we are to losing. And we haven't lost any points towards capitulation. Ethiopia, on the other hand, is sitting here 95% of the way towards capitulation. They've only got 5%. So if we take any more of their victory points, each province is worth 1, unless it's got like a city or something in it, in which case then it's worth a little bit more. But I mean, we take a few more of these provinces and we're basically going to take their country from them, and the war will be over. They'll just surrender to us. And sure, it's going to take till April, and we might think, oh, that took a long time, but we were cool and taking our time. That's what we wanted to do. And if we look, we've lost 1,900 people, and they've lost 24,000, almost 25,000 people. So, we're still doing pretty good, like about 12 to 1 kill ratio. And this guy is completely surrounded. So, he's getting supply because he's in his homeland and he's not eating much, but he's pretty much going to be killed because he's got nowhere to retreat to as we control all the territory around him. And as soon as we get some more territories, that should be it for our victories. And we've reached the cap here, so we'll go ahead and take this one and take something else. How about this nice military skill? And this one we'll go back and put over in here, down to 14 days to finish. Speed it up a little bit. And this will take us to peace conferences, because once we've managed to capture, and it looks like we're pretty close to taking a few pieces of territory from them. It's a slow going, but we're on slow. Oh, and look, he got a new skill. He now has infantry expert that he could take once we get our red up and a little bit higher, which will give him an extra tack, 10%. An ambusher we could give him instead if we wanted to have a better recon bonus for defending. And there's also guerrilla fighter, which helps. So he's got some good choices that are coming up for him. We're making our generals quite good. They're quite experienced from this long battle and utilizing the things that they learned. And that one got annihilated. You see how he just vanished? His troops are gone. We took that place. Let's go take this one. We may have enough now. Let's take a look. 96%. No, we're not quite there. Need to go a little bit more. There's our basic machine tools. We finished that one. We got a couple options here. What we could do is we could go ahead and add it to the L6 and go through and then do the same thing with that one to get it to finish ahead. Or we could actually start working on this one right away. And I'm going to choose this one because I want to have the faster. Yeah, it's okay to start a couple 30 days earlier on this one, but I'd rather have the higher production output sooner. So, because pushing it off 30 days means that it's going to be 30 days later, right? Now, are we there yet? 97%, not quite. So let's go take them down. $89, $90, we're pushing them back. Treaty was signed, and we're going to take that one, and I think this will do it. Yeah, 100%. So as soon as this up in the top hand corner goes to 24, the day will end. And so let's slow it down to get it there. 2200, 2300, 2400, and look at that. Peace in our time. Ethiopia has capitulated, giving us access to 50% of their stockpiled equipment. So they're giving us 971 basic infantry equipment, which sucks. This is like their rifles. But the fuel's good. And great news, it has capitulated. Now, this is a peace treaty page. This is telling us how much increase there's going to be on world tension. Beating up Ethiopia is going to bring the world up. So we have different options. We can take Ethiopia, and it will become part of Italy, just like Eritrea and Somalia. Or the other option would be to puppet them, and they would basically be under our control. Now, if we puppet them, that's going to do 20.6. If we just annex them, it's going to be 20.6. So either way, we're going to be taking a hit in points here. You'll also notice you have an option to pass. If you were to pass and there were other countries here, they would get a chance to, purchase things in the peace treaty based on the amount of points we have. We have 33. It only costs 23 to take Ethiopia and 23 to puppet them. So, I usually just take Ethiopia and go boom, end turn. They're now ours. There's nothing else to do in this peace treaty, so we just hit done. And look, we just increased 15.8. So it went from 5 to 20 in relatively quick terms, just by beating them down. So now Italy controls all of this land. We've got all of these troops who are now sitting here, and in the meantime, all of our other cavalry units have just been sitting here, and these guys have just been hanging out on the border, working their way up. If we go, and we also want to tell our planes that are flying over here to stop flying. We don't need them flying anymore. And in fact, what we probably want to do, actually this guy, we can drop him to 39. So, 39, drop it down. Set limit, good. We'll change them all this way. We'll split them down into smaller groups too, just like we did with the other ones. We'll change them all to sunny flying, and we'll set them to also train up, because you notice some of them are more trained than others. The ground bombing ones and stuff had a lot of training, but the fighters didn't really have much to do. They just were there, and they didn't get any real benefit. They just flew escorting these guys and didn't get any real help from it. Whereas these guys were doing a lot of bombing and stuff, so they got some pretty good experience out of it. Now, we don't need them here anymore, so I'm going to take them and I'm just going to fly them to a new location. I'm going to send them up to this one. I'm actually going to do the same thing with all these other ones. These guys can fly there too. These air ones will fly with those air ones. These guys will also fly there. So we've now got all our air going to the same place and doing training. As for our troops, we've got all these guys. We have insufficient resources. We're still short rubber and chromium. It now gives us the option to do a focus. So, we could have been doing them before, but I didn't bother. The only one I like to take here really to start with is Army Primacy, primarily because it just gives us more factories. It also gives us a nice benefit to a doctrine thing, so I'll take that one and we'll work on that one. Now the rest of these troops, we probably want to send them somewhere. So the easiest way to do that is to just go ahead and cancel all of their orders, first of all, because we don't need them moving around to different places. And we can then send them all home. And another way to do that would be just to go ahead and click the area defense order and set them up and say, hey, I want you to do area defense in these provinces. And they will now sail there automatically. So as we watch them go. they're all going to start moving. This guy may take a little bit longer because he was in the middle of a surrender mission, but the rest of them have now been given orders to, cruise on home. And we'll speed it up. We'll go to full days and watch them go. Boom, boom, boom. And they're sailing home. And that just sort of gives you an idea of, a starting of how Italy can be used to do these attacks, and how you can give orders from your field marshal and break them up into different groups and say, okay, I want these guys on this line and these guys on this line, and I want this group's orders to go to here and this one to go there. And they're sailing, and because we're not currently at war with the UK, they'll actually let us sail through the Suez, even though they probably don't like the fact that we just, took Ethiopia. And our troops are going home, and looks like we just built another military factory. So we could go ahead and say, hey, we want some more artillery, because we're going to have some more artillery we want. Or we could, set it up. We could even tell it, look, the next 5 I want to go to light tanks. We want to build more light tanks. So you can sort of go through and do all that. And you'll notice that certain things increase. One of the useful leaders is this guy, because he's got the speed. So we'll want to take him next. And this will also increase this value. Now, what does this army experience do? Well, we can use it for a few things. We could go in and we could improve our unit. Like this armor unit is not particularly good with all of these cavalry in it, right? So we could go ahead and say, hey, look, we want armored battalions. We want light tanks in there. And we just can spend 10. And we can do the same thing with that. Say, hey, we want light tanks. We're going to spend some light tanks. And we want another light tank. So we've got all of these light tanks in here. And let's say we're going to change this from a quote-unquote cavalry division to an armored division now. And we're going to give it an engineer company, because we want to be able to give them that too. So we can do that. And if we wanted to give them artillery or anti-air, we would have those options available as well. So I can hit save, and this is now a much better unit. Like, it's got a lot more tank. What I want to have as a thing, and I have to research it because apparently I haven't researched it yet, is the recon. Because when I go here, I can't pick a recon one, and recon is useful because if we have an armored recon in here, the breakthrough value goes like through the roof, which gives them even more defense when they're on attack. A 16 combat width is pretty good. It's not bad at all. We could even put in some more units. I could go in here and give them a motorized artillery to give them some bollocks. Now they're up to 19 combat width. And you can just play around with these things. You could also save these up so that we could be able to get the doctrine. So I could go ahead and say, okay, I don't want to take this one. I want to take this one. So I get faster, more breakthrough, more speed, less organization, better planning. And normally this would cost 100. But if I take this ability here from Armored Primacy, it gives me a 50% reduction on my land doctrine. So it'll only cost me 50 instead of 100. And if I was to also take this guy here, he gives another 15 off. So instead of 50, it now costs me 35. And the one after would also cost me 35. So, it makes it really easy to actually get some of these better doctrines right off the bat. So I can get this one and I can get this one, to give myself these bonuses to my units. And then to this one, gives plus 15 organization to all my infantry and motorized and mechanized units and my paratroopers and my mountaineers. Like, this is insane. 15 organization is darn useful because organization is the stat that always takes the biggest hit. And but essentially we're now prepped in our countdown. If I look, We've got a justification that's expected to finish on September 25th. So we've got a few more months to get prepped for a war with France, and we can wait for these L6 tanks to be finished, so then I can start building those tanks instead of the L3s. And the L6s are better, so they can then be, my armor units will be better off with the better units. So, and it's just sort of going from there, and then we just continue playing, letting our guys continue building up. These guys, if we wanted, we could change some of them over to cavalry as well and have them increase up. Although for some of them, as we notice, they have experience. Like these guys are regular with this much experience. So once they're only a little ways away from getting to the next level and getting even better benefits. So you might not want to in those particular cases, just because, you lose. If I change their unit to something else, I end up losing all of that experience. And I don't want to do that. So, just things that you can consider doing. It's like, if you want to get that, you could still send them on the training mission, but you're just going to lose, because they're full infantry units, they're going to lose support equipment as well, and it could cost your resources stronger. So anyways, that's just a start to give you an idea of, how a war would happen and what you do to get the different things going. And, once Italy's taken that, what I would also frequently do is leave a few guys here so that when we go to war with France, I can have them take this little piece of France. So I would leave a few units behind. Also, once they've done and France is conquered, I can then do a declaration of war on, let's say, Belgium or the Netherlands. And I can justify on them. And then, of course, when I do the declaration on the Netherlands, the UK will guarantee it, so that when I finally declare war on them, the UK will step in and declare war on us, which then gives us an opportunity to do a naval invasion. So once we've taken France, we can move all of our troops here to Le Havre and take all of our fleet and sail them out up here into the English Channel, and then get them out in the field just waiting for the English to attack. So you move the game really, really slowly once you're about to start the war and you've just declared war on Netherlands, and you just wait, and then all of a sudden they are going to declare war, and then that's when you launch your naval invasions, and you take out all their ports, and your troops land over there, and then you sail over your armor and your motorized infantry units that you've got, and you quickly take up the UK, and you've now conquered the UK, and we're barely into 1937, right? Or sometime in 1937, like early 37, you've got the UK. From the French territories that you catch when you catch France, you can take places like Saint-Pierre-Miquelon, which is this little island here, and then you can use this to stage a naval invasion and land in Canada. And because they land in Canada, when the peace treaty happens, when you defeat England, you'll be able to take Canada. And you can even do the same thing by using these little French islands over here, New Caledonia, right here. You can send troops here after you conquer France. You can sail them over here and then have them launch an attack here, which is part of Australia. It's controlled by Australia, so you're taking Australian territory, and you can have them sail down and take parts of New Zealand. And once you take New Zealand and Australia are now in the peace treaty, and you can annex them. And if you want, you can even do the same thing as well to South Africa, because there's this little island here, Reunion, which is French, and then all of Madagascar is French, so they could actually launch from here or launch from the Comoro Islands. They could even sail and then do a naval invasion and land here in South Africa. And as long as they make it before you conquer England, if they land there, that you can now take them. And one of the other things about the diplomacy is that when all of the majors of an opposing side drop, if there's any minors in the faction with them, they also capitulate, provided they have war participation. And there's ways to get war participation. You can sink their ships. You can do damage, enough damage to their infrastructure, like if you send bombers at their territory and do enough damage, that can get them war participation. If you do damage to their people, like if you actually go ahead and kill off their people in battle, that happens too. You can get war participation that way. So if you can get war participation against some of these little countries, you can take all of England except London, and then just surround London so that you can take it at your leisure and start declaring war one at a time on these other countries like Austria or Yugoslavia or Belgium. And then once they join the war, they'll join the Allies. And then after they've joined the Allies and you've gotten war participation with them and they've been in the war for 7 days, you can then go ahead and take out England, and they will automatically surrender with England, because England is the only major power amongst the Allies, because you've already taken out France. So if you take out the UK, all of the other minor countries that are fighting against you will all lose at the same time, and they'll all capitulate, provided they have war participation and have been fighting for 7 days. So one of the other places that you can get as well that way, there's this little French piece here in India. All you have to do is walk across and take this little space. You take that land or go to and fight and inflict casualties on the Indian troops that are there. And now India is in the thing. You can take troops from here and you can sail and have them invade British Malaya. Either over here or over here, doesn't matter. Maybe even this little island. Yeah, it's part of British Malaya too. And if they take any territory in there, that becomes part of the peace treaty. For the Dutch East Indies, if when you're at war with the Netherlands, you can declare war on the Dutch East Indies as well, and you can do a naval invasion, sail on down, and take this port, and then walk over towards where their capital is if you want, but you don't need to, as long as you've got that. Once England drops, Dutch East Indies will drop, British Malaya will drop, because they've had war participation, because you've taken their territory. You've taken India's territory, you've taken South America or South Africa, you've taken Canada, and all of a sudden Italy will control all of those territories in the peace treaty. You can take them all. And you suddenly have this huge base of operations, and that's basically what my plan would be in this one. Is I would go ahead and I would send some troops back over here to about 5 or 6 to fight against France to take this territory, and then be prepped so that I could then send them from these ports down to here, so that I could naval invade over there, or over to here so that I could attack into England or into India, or over to here so I could do the invasions to Dutch East Indies and British, and over to here so I could hit Australia and New Zealand. And boom, all of a sudden I basically capitulate the entire Commonwealth when England falls. And the Dutch East Indies and the Netherlands and any other countries I've chosen to attack, like Austria or Belgium or Luxembourg. Spain you can't really do because they're in a civil war and it will actually be bad, so do not go into Spain. You don't want to attack Germany. But yeah, you could attack Yugoslavia. You could attack Turkey from France. You can go and take this French territory here that you get when you capitulate them, and declare war on Turkey and start fighting into Turkey. And as long as you either take some of their territory or kill some of their people or bomb their buildings enough, they'll have war participation, and when England falls, they'll capitulate, and you'll get their entire territory too. You can puppet them or annex them, your choice. So that's just kind of where this game would go next. I'd basically go and attack through here. I would send the tanks along the coast and the easy territory. I would send the mountain units with the artillery up through the north and cut around this way, and the tanks will go around this way, cut them off. I encircle this huge amount, and then the infantry basically just kills them. And the other ones will then move across the south. I use the armor to go this way, which will then draw most of their forces to kill the armor, because they seem to want to do that, which then means my infantry and motorized infantry specifically can then cruise towards Paris. And once you've gotten Paris and Bordeaux and these cities pretty much in here, they fall. France is easy to take once you've gotten that. So if you take the capital and Bordeaux, sometimes some people will use paratroopers and try and drop in that way and steal it that way. Sometimes that works. Before No Step Back, that was a quite easy tactic to use. Since No Step Back, it's not quite as easy to use because it seems like the AI has been taught to guard supply depots, and typically where you're paratrooping has victory points, and that's where the supply depots tend to be. So it's not such a good tactic as it once was, but it is an option and you can try it sometimes. Or even use a bunch of paratroopers to drop in behind enemy lines and cut them off of supply so that you suddenly have an encirclement. You can do that too. There are ways to use them. When you build an infantry or research paratroopers in here, they'll show up and then you get a template with it, and it comes with 3 battalions. You can actually remove 2 and just have battalions of 1 battalion paratroopers, and because you're allowed to have 24, you could actually delete all of 5 of your mountain units and then build 24 1 battalion paratroopers and have them drop in 24 different spaces and just go whoop, and you control all of the land through there as long as there's no troops, and as long as your guys survive the landing. You could suddenly cut off a whole swath, and then they're going to obviously move in and try and reconnect the supply to those areas, but it's a way to encircle further behind lines. It's another tactic you could use. It's not something you need to do. You don't even need to build the paratroopers. You can just fight your way through to the capital. I've done it many times, so something to do and consider. So I hope I've given you some food for thought and given you a better idea of how to play the game a little bit. Some of the other things that you would want to sort of focus on are what the values are for these things. So when I go and I look at this armor unit, and max speed is 10. The max speed is based on the slowest unit in here, except for the support companies. They don't count. They go whatever speed the other ones are. So the light tanks I've got in here are speed 10. The motorized are speed 12. Speed 12 for this. So because the slowest units in here are these armor units at speed 10, it's going to go a max speed of 10. Once I develop light tank 2 technology, the L6s, they have a speed of 12, and the motorized have a speed of 12. So if I can get a unit of armor that's full of nothing but the L6s and the motorized units, they'll have a speed of 12. So they'll actually move pretty fast across open areas and can encircle pretty well. Furthermore, they have 64 hit points, which is pretty good. Organization of 20 is a bit on the low side. Usually want it to be a little bit higher, but once we get that tech, the doctrine that brings up all of our group by 15, these guys all will suddenly increase by 15 points each. So this will bring this value up. Recovery rate, that's how fast the org returns. So every hour they'll get back basically about a quarter of a point, a little over. So if their org starts dropping, you can pull them off the battle, and essentially in 4 hours they'll get a point back. So it'll slowly come back. Reconnaissance, this is used, it tells you here, like your mouse over it, says the ability to scout ahead and anticipate the enemy increases the chance that this unit can pick better tactics in battle and increases the amount of intel gathered from that combat. Suppression, you only use suppression in garrison units, so this really has no bearing for a regular combat unit, but when we wanted to build this guy, suppression would be useful. We would want to add a military police thing here and probably fill out all the rest of these with cavalry so that we have 25 cavalry battalions to 1, and the amount of suppression in here would be crazy. You get 2 per, so you'd have 50 right off the bat, and then the military police battery basically gives a percentage increase of the total. So you would have like each cavalry unit would have a suppression value of something like 80 or 90, so it's like pretty cool, and it wouldn't require too much resources because the ratio of cavalry battalions to engineers, you wouldn't need very much support equipment to keep your people suppressed, like the occupied territories. So that's why that's a good thing. If we go back to the armor unit, weight, this is how much it weighs to ship it by your transports. So it's going to take 8 transports basically to ship one division of this across. Supply use, this is how much supply use they use. So if you're fighting in areas where there's low supply, these guys are going to take a fair amount of your supply. Average reliability, the higher this is, the less the units break down. And so if you can keep this up at like 100% or something, you can get really good reliability scores for it, and your units will last a lot longer in battle. They don't break down. You don't need to be replaced as much. So that's good. Trickleback, if you have hospitals in here, when you take damage, usually your manpower is lost completely. But with trickleback, what that happens is some of your, because you got the hospital there, some of your people can be saved and sent back into battle. Maybe they got a broken arm that might, make them a crippled if they don't get treatment in time at the hospital. So they're no longer able to fight. But if you save them at the hospital that's in the fight, in the unit, and put them back together right away, they can heal up and then come back, and you don't lose that experience. They're still there with the ability to keep fighting, and the unit can stay at a certain amount. Same with experience loss. That would also increase the experience loss from 0, so it would make it so that you would have less experience loss when your guys take damage. Soft attack, this is how many attacks your unit gets against soft targets, and hard attack is how many attacks it gets against hard targets. So soft attack is used against like other infantry and light things like cavalry, paratroopers, mountain units. There none of them have any sort of armor. Motorized have some minor armor, because they're inside trucks, right? Or APCs. Mechanized is the next level up. It has a bit more armor. Tanks have a lot of armor. So when you get to that, that's when you start getting to the hard attack. And the hard attack is used for attacking tanks and things. So if you're expecting to fight a lot of tanks, you're going to want to have a lot of hard attack. If you're fighting a lot of ground units, you're going to want a lot of lighter units. You want a lot of soft attack. Air attack is if you have anti-air units in your unit. You can basically use it to fire back at the planes that come bombing you. So it allows you to shoot back at them. Defense. So defense is how well they defend. Breakthrough is how well they defend when they're attacking. So when they're being attacked, they use this. When they're attacking somebody else, they use this. So they're really good on attack, not so good on defense, but 102 isn't bad. A bunch of infantry of about 19 weight would be a lot better in terms of defense. Armor, this is how thick their armor is on average. Now some of these units have no armor at all, and some of them do. Like the engineer doesn't have any armor. These guys have no armor. Only the light tanks have any armor, and even then they don't have very much. Their piercing value is good, so if they were fighting another unit, they'd actually have a good piercing value against another armor unit of equivalent, because their piercing is higher than the armor. If their piercing was lower than the armor, then it would actually be advantageous for the other side. The defender would actually have a better mobility and do more damage in the battle, because they can they can bounce the tank things. Sometimes that's why you can want to put in like tank destroyers in there instead. Initiative is the higher the initiative unit has, the quicker it can reinforce into battle, and the quicker it gets its planning done. Initiative also modifies any coordination modifiers you have. So this is used for a lot of different things, but basically it helps when a unit moves to the front and is ready to join into the battle. It helps it get into the battle quicker. Entrenchment, this is the amount of entrenchment value it has. It has a 5 capture ratio. There's certain abilities and things that you can use that allow them to capture enemy equipment and add it to your stockpile. Combat width, this is how much space this unit takes up on the combat field. Each terrain type has a different value. So like plains have 90, mountains have 75. So, you know, you could get 3 of these fighting in a mountain unit. You could probably get 4 of them fighting in a plains unit. So you can adjust the combat width and to optimize it for expected. Higher combat width values are typically pretty good, so I like to get it, you know, I've had times where I've had combat with armor with like 42, and they just rock through pretty much anything. These smaller ones will do okay, but the bigger numbers, when they've got that much force behind them, they just blow through things. It's pretty crazy. Manpower, now this last one is just how much stuff there is in this infantry, or in this unit. So there's 6,200 people that are needed to fulfill this unit fully. It takes 180 days to train them fully. They have 864 fuel capacity and use 18 fuel a day, so it can use it pretty fast, and they can have a reasonable storage. There's 36 artillery units in here, which are in there. 210 infantry, which are in these 2, and also over here, and possibly a little bit in there. Trucks, that would be in all 3 of those. 30 support, that would be in the infantry over there, and the light tanks, 360. Each of these has 60 in them, so there you go. And that's a unit. You can also look at the adjusters. So they have a penalty when moving through forest. They have a penalty on attack when moving through forest. They have a plus on defense in forest. They're slow moving through hills. They're slow moving through mountain, like minus 2.2%, minus 0.5%, minus 38. So forests really slow them down. They're really fast in marsh, surprisingly. Forts, average speed, they're pretty good at moving across the river. Amphibious, not so bad. Jungle, not very, they're slow in jungle. So you don't want to use an armor unit in jungle is basically what that's telling you. So it's, you know, you can look at all these things. It tells you how much resources that it needs of each different thing to build it, and about how many production units it takes to build it as well. So I think that gives you a good overview, and I'm just going to leave this video here, and I probably will do some more videos, but for right now, that's good. And thanks for listening.